Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.
Believe it.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
Hey!
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
Napoleon Bonnet-Trump did pre-blame the judicial branch for our next terrorist attack. You know, to save time, he's a businessman. He then immediately made the rounds of the military and the Sheriff's Association to establish himself as their fluffer-in-chief.
We heard from sheriffs who said they sat in those exact seats 6 months ago in a different administration, and they felt this time there was a president who actually asked them, what do you need?
What do I need? Lord of mercy, no one ever asked me about my needs. Not till you blew into town, you handsome drifter. Now, what else happened that was terrible? Oh, yeah, a sentient bag of hairspray fumes was put in charge of education, and the human antidote to the Voting Rights Act moved forward with help from a very neutered blue dog, none of which was a surprise, but this was. I know! We couldn't believe it either. First, after briefly banning Kellyanne Conway for being a flaxen-haired fountain of lies, CNN let her back through the gates straight into Jake Tapper's cage. And they haven't fed him this week.
Saying that we don't cover terrorism, that's just false. Sprays of falsehoods coming from the White House. How about the president's statements that are false? Falsehoods, false, false.
Damn, Jake. Wow. I didn't think CNN let you use the F word on the air. Now, while Tapper cleaned his whiskers following his feast, CNN whisked us back to the good old days of radio with a crackly broadcast of lawyers arguing the travel ban case, which turned out to be the most riveting audio drama since yours truly, Johnny Dollar, The Adventures of a Man with an Action-Packed Expense Account. Honestly, I have always wished to live in a country where people listened to and live tweeted important court cases about civil liberties. I just shouldn't have wished it on that monkey's paw. Sorry. Now, was CNN done surprising us? Nuh-uh. Next, they gifted us with the joy of pretending the past year never happened.
Live from the George Washington University in the nation's capital, this is CNN's debate night on the future of the Affordable Care Act.
It's like Jeff Zucker looked at his election ratings and said, hey, what if it was election all the time? The Socialist and the Slytherin played all their greatest hits.
I disagree with Ted, who wants to give incredible tax breaks to millionaires and billionaires.
When my dad went to Texas in 1957, when he was 18, he couldn't speak English.
Incredible tax breaks to the top 1%.
Okay.
And Bernie's solution, I'm reminded of an old Saturday Night Live skit with Christopher Walken, where they're playing in a band and he keeps ringing the cowbell. And every time they record it, his solution is more cowbell, more cowbell. And Bernie and the Democrats' solution is more cowbell, more cowbell.
Oh, God. You're that twerp in high school who wouldn't shut up about the knights who say knee. Please, someone take away Ted's Netflix before he discovers Borat.
So all normal people, every last one of us that are normal and, read a little bit of a newspaper every single day or watch a little bit of, national news, or we all know that the White House is the place where ethics, truth, and democracy go to die. We all know that now. And we all know that the president and his team, meaning Sean Spicer and the counselor, Kellyanne Conway, are liars. The only people that don't know it are people who are radical and want to burn down the government. Yay. Nice to be sharing a country with you. I mean, the lying just doesn't stop. It keeps on going. The latest thing that just happened was this morning's press briefing with Sean Spicer. I got to tell you, the audio from this is insane because the first reporters that were called on were like Newsmax and Fox. And it's so strange to see the press room actually open up to, Breitbart and Newsmax and, just, rags instead of, the Washington Post, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, things like that. It's amazing. It's just an amazing thing to see the government's, our taxpayer dollars go to pay Sean Spicer to talk to media, and he's talking to his friends' businesses. It's such a shock and awe experience. This is the thing that disorients you from the get-go. But, well, it was just the most amazing press conference because a lot of lies have been told in the past 24 hours. Why? Because today is Thursday, and Trump is the president. So that's why a lot of lies have been told. So obviously, the lie that was told was from Sean's was that when Gorsuch said yesterday, as reported out by Republican and Democratic senators alike, that Gorsuch was in their office and they were asking him what he thought about Donald Trump saying things like, if we get attacked, we're in peril, and we get attacked, blame the courts. Blame the courts and so-called judges, and his attack on Judge Curiel and other things of this nature. And Judge Gorsuch said an attack on the judiciary is demoralizing. Okay, he said it's demoralizing. He didn't use really sharp words. Now the bet was on. Okay, within the Randi Rhodes show, the bet was on within the news media whether or not Donald Trump would take to Twitter and slap Judge Gorsuch down because he nominated him and he's his lapdog and he will do what he's told. So the Democratic and Republican senators took to the TV and they tried to explain that this really did happen and that because they all knew, the people who showed up knew that Donald Trump was going to attack Gorsuch, and Republicans want Gorsuch and Democrats would like to be able to vote for somebody that's mainstream. And so they thought, well, maybe by Gorsuch saying something like this, that he could be, somebody mainstream. We'll kill that notion for you in just a minute. But just so you know, this is what Ben Sasse, what is Ben Sasse in Nebraska doing to himself? I guess he answers his email. I guess somebody answers his telephone. I guess he knows what his constituents are thinking about him right now. But this was what Ben Sasse said on the TV.
Such that the President of the United States saying some of the things he's saying to about federal judges, questioning their legitimacy, or that's disheartening, concerning?
Disheartening is a great word. George Gorsuch and I actually talked about that, and frankly, he got pretty passionate about him. I asked him about the so-called judges comment, because we don't have so-called judges or so-called presidents or so-called senators. And this is a guy who kind of welled up with some energy, and he said any attack on any of, I think his term to me was brothers or sisters of the robe, is an attack on all judges, and he believes in an independent judiciary. And I think what I saw in that guy, as he got some energy about it, was this isn't about somebody who's just been nominated to the Supreme Court. This is a guy, if he were on traffic court in Colorado or in Nebraska, would have the same view. He understands why we have three branches. And frankly, it seems to me that that's a good reason why his nomination shouldn't be politicized. People all across the political spectrum should love the fact that he's going to be a warrior for a constitutional system of executive restraint and limits.
Wow. So he specifically said that he brought this up specifically, the comment about so-called judges and the comment about peril and the, blah, blah, blah. And Gorsuch got very animated. He got a burst of energy, he did, the good-looking man. Burst of energy he got. An attack on one of our brothers in robes. That brings you to, Beauregard Sessions. I got to Jefferson Beauregard Sessions III. As you know, is officially our new Attorney General. Joe Manchin was the one Democrat that voted for him. Joe Manchin, who also was sitting next to Donald Trump this morning at the White House when Donald Trump said that that Gorsuch's comments to Ben Sasse, comments to Senator Blumenthal. Comments to, the John Bogine, who's the Sherpa, because they're practically Buddhists up there, and Kelly Ayotte, who was also in the room, were mischaracterized. But Jefferson Beauregard Sessions, is our new Attorney General, and that's good, because with a name like Jefferson Beauregard Sessions III, probably the only jobs that were actually open to him were moonshiner, plantation boss, or grand dragon. So welcome to the civil rights part of our government now. Trump's new Attorney General, the grand dragon. Like an old time sheriff, like the kind that used to be on what was the Dukes of Count, whatever, the Dukes of
Hazzard.
The Dukes of Hazzard. Like he needs a big plug of tobacco on his face. Do you know what I mean? Except that he's a teeny tiny petite man. Have you ever seen Jeff Sessions? He's tiny. He's itty bitty. He's less boss hog and much more boss piglet, is what I think we should call him. But of course, the Justice Department, not going to prosecute Kellyanne Conway for, ethics violations today, as you know. But anyway, so that was one senator. Let's see. Let's find you another one. Let's see if I can find here. Let's play Trump. Hey, look, I love this photo. I love this photo up. There's Joe Manchin. Can you see? This is Joe Manchin right here. See him sitting next to the president right there after he voted for Jeff Sessions. Isn't that nice? He gets a place at the table for the coal miners. Yeah. All right, so this is what he said, okay?
You misrepresented his comments totally.
I just want to ask you what your thoughts were, sir.
His comments were misrepresented, and what you should do is ask Senator Blumenthal about his Vietnam record that didn't exist after years of saying it did. So ask Senator Blumenthal about his Vietnam record. He misrepresented that just like he misrepresented Judge Gorsuch. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
It wasn't just, Blumenthal, but, you are a high school bully, and this is what you do. Of course, Blumenthal was a Marine for like 6 years, but it wasn't the right kind of service. And of course, this man here, Twitler, is also fighting with John McCain, who said that this Yemen attack was botched. He said it was tragic, is what it was. Anyway, he fights with everybody because that's who he is. He's about, he's about 11, 12 years old in a, 70-year-old old man's body is what it is. So anyway, he attacks Blumenthal, but it wasn't just Blumenthal. It was Kelly Ayotte. It was Ben Sasse. It was the Sherpa himself, John Bogine, who is, leading Gorsuch around to all the Senate offices. And, of course, Sean Spicer was tasked with the hideous job today of having to defend Donald Trump's position that Gorsuch wasn't talking about Donald Trump's tweets that say, that if we get attacked, blame the courts. That was the most disgusting tweet. If we get attacked, blame the courts. And also saying that, so-called judges, and also attacking Judge Curiel prior to being installed as number 45. But, this unbelievable thing where Spicer just lies. Listen to this.
He kept referring to a statement released by Kelly Ayotte, the former senator from...
Oh, this is that's the discussion about how he lied, okay? Here.
This is what Senator Ayotte said. Judge Gorsuch had made it very clear in all of his discussions with senators, including Senator Blumenthal, that he could not comment on specific cases and that judicial ethics prevent him from commenting on political matters. He has also emphasized the importance of an independent judiciary, and while he made clear that he was not referencing any specific case, he said that he finds any criticism of a judge's integrity and independence disheartening and demoralizing. So there's a big difference between commenting on the specific comments that have been made in the tweet and his general philosophy about the judiciary and his respect for his fellow judges. And I think the senator's comments were very clear about how those are two distinct issues. Senator Blumenthal characterized them. He was talking about the tweets and saying that he was disheartened. That's not what the judge said. He was making two very complete, distinct arguments about how he views the comments, that he should not be commenting on a political matter or on specific things. But as a whole, he doesn't like attacks in general on the judiciary. It was a very distinct argument that he was making. He was commenting in general about attacks on the judiciary. That was it, plain and simple.
I want to bring in Rick Santorum, the former senator.
No, I don't want to hear from Rick Santorum. No. Google it. Why is he there? Yeah, why? He's got employment now. He's at CNN is where he is. But this is Spicer's press conference. He totally lost control of this press conference today. Listen to this.
Are you saying that demoralizing and disheartening was not specifically about the president's comments and what he said? And if so, how does the president know that?
I think I think the judge literally made it very clear in his comments. I understand that Senator Ayotte, who was there, made it very clear that he was commenting in general about attacks on the judiciary. That was it, plain and simple. I understand that, Cecilia. I can tell you with Senator Ayotte, who has been with him on every single thing, was very clear about that. There's no... so I understand that, and that is... She has made it very clear over and over again. Yeah.
Sean, you're
stealing the question.
Yeah, Sean, your answer about the context doesn't make sense when you think about what Senator Ben Sasse said today and this morning on TV. He said that he asked Judge Gorsuch specifically about the president's so-called judge tweet, and in response,
Phil, this is like the fourth time I've asked an answer.
No, but this is a different context.
I understand that, Phil. I've asked
directly about.
I understand that, and I've said exactly what Senator Ayotte said about it. I don't know how many times you can ask. Yeah,
it was only about.
I understand it. Thank you. Yeah.
I'm going to continue on this line despite what's happening there. Why isn't the White House, why isn't the president concerned about the influence or the appearance of the influence on the independent judiciary?
Why isn't he? He is free to speak his mind. Where has this outrage been for the last 100 years? There has been.
The Obama administration or any previous administration. I'm talking about this president.
I understand, and the president has. The part of the reason the president got elected is because he speaks his mind. He doesn't hold it back. He's authentic, and he's not going to sit back. I think when he feels very passionately about something as much as the executive order, he was doing it to make sure Americans were safe.
Wait,
the order, the U.S. code is crystal clear on this. I think I've read it for like 3 days in a row. And it can't be any clearer how much authority it gives the president to do what he can to keep it safe. He's concerned that he's doing what he can to keep this country safe, and there's been a lot of activity to stand in the way. So I'm not sure how many more times I can read the code to you, but 8 U.S. Code 1182...
talking about it is not how the judicial process works.
Thank you. You've asked the question now 8 times.
One more, I'd like to ask you, about a different set of comments that have been made.
I understand. Thank you. Go ahead.
About a different set of comments that have been made, Sean, also from Kellyanne Conway earlier this week.
Let him go.
Earlier from this
Let him
week,
go.
you said this is in context of the Nordstrom, and not about what she was counseled about, but about something she said to CNN earlier this week, is that the president doesn't comment on everything. And so I want to contrast the president's repeated statements about Nordstrom with the lack of comments about some other things, including, for example, the attack on Quebec Mosque and other similar environments. Why is the president, when he chooses to...
Do you know, hold on, before, because you just brought that
He totally lost control. And there's always somebody there guiding, okay? You always hear the voice of the girl. There's always a girl in there. And she always goes, let him go. Or she says, you have to say, Senator Warren. Senator Warren. Tell her to take a seat. Take a seat. They just don't know what they're doing. And it's really pretty sad. But, okay, so the whole new thing is that even though Ben Sasse, Kelly Ayotte, John Bogin, who's a very respected PR guy who takes the nominees around to the Senate offices, and Senator Blumenthal, have all said that they specifically asked Gorsuch about Trump's tweets, you've got Spicer there going, it wasn't about Trump's tweets. And you know what's really crazy? Gorsuch today was forced to say it wasn't about Trump. He actually said my comments about demoralizing the judiciary wasn't about Trump.
For a commercial-free, on-demand, whenever, wherever listening experience, visit randyrhodes.com for your personal premium podcast today.
Go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.